call the meeting to order. This is Brian Bates, co-chair of the Doney Park Timberline Fernwood Area Plan Committee, calling our February 24th, 2022 meeting to order. And I'd like to begin by asking individuals on the committee to identify themselves. Let me share first. This is Brian Bates again. I'm actually in Palm Springs, California at this point. And I've lived in the Doney Park region for almost 40 years or more. Let me go to John Ruggles.
Okay, unmuted. Let's see, John Ruggles here, Planning and Zoning Commissioner for District 2. That's enough.
Thank you. Dave Browning.
Dave Browning, live in Doney Park and been living here since '06, like it. And I'm on this committee because I think it's important stuff to do.
Thank you. Rob Wilson.
Hi, I'm Rob Wilson. I co-chair the committee along with Brian. Thanks, Brian, for all your help. And lived in Timberline now for about 15 years and want to preserve our community the way that it is.
Thank you. Monica.
Hi, Monica Julian, been here for like 35 years. Actually, I'm in McCall, Idaho. If I disappear, it's the internet, so forgive me in advance.
Thank you, Monica. Harriet.
Yeah, I had problems getting on too, so I don't know if we've got any kind of problem out here in the area. I'm at Girls Ranch Road and I've lived here for 30 years and I'm a retired political scientist and I think we're doing good work.
Thank you. Evelyn.
Evelyn Wani here, District 2. On the committee. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Sailor.
Yeah, there we go. A minute. I work on Teams all day. It's hard for me to remember where the buttons are on Zoom. Hey, this is Sailor. I think that Doney Park is one of the most wonderful places to live, and I'm really proud to be on this committee. I work for the Red Cross, and I've done a lot of disaster work in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Clifford.
Jim Clifford, District 4 Planning and Zoning Commissioner. Been in Doney Park since '86, so quite a while.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Any other members of the committee that I did not call on?
Bernice just joined us. Sorry.
Okay.
Bernice.
Hi, I'm sorry. I was having trouble with the internet. My name is Bernice Carver, and I've lived in Doney Park for 45 years, and I've been real active in the community, and I've worked at the school district, the county, and Gore, and active in Girl Scouts and other organizations, Northern Arizona Horsemen's Association, and lots of other organizations around town. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bernice. Any other committee members that I missed? Hearing none, let me ask if Supervisor Vasquez from District 2 would like to share with us.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Just want to say again, thank you for participating in all your hard work. It's been a grind. I'm just a fly on the wall most of the time, and sometimes I'm overwhelmed with so much stuff in there. And so I really applaud you for all of you who are part of the committee for your tireless effort to get through this process. I know you're getting close, so just hang in there. You're almost there. And I also just wanted to mention that we are getting close to getting some maps for local redistricting to be presented to the public. We were originally going to do the rollout in person, but due to COVID, that's been pushed back to virtual events at this time. However, in the next month or so, there should be some initial events coming where the board members will be in person, but no public public yet. That might change as the numbers change and the metrics change. So please continue to be safe and where applicable, wear a mask and do your social distancing and sanitizer and whatnot so that we can get back in person and have these conversations that we need to have. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone and look forward to a good meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Supervisor Vasquez. Let me go to Supervisor Begay, District 4.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be part of this meeting this evening. I too have some internet issues and I'm going in and out, so I had to get back on a couple of times already. But nonetheless, I will be listening, and we are shorthanded currently in our district office. We used to have Naomi Sloan help us, attend some of the meetings. And she has accepted a job with the community college, I believe. So we're in the process of recruiting someone else. And then also my colleague had mentioned the redistricting. That's true. And that, we hope to one day sit at the table and talk about, redistricting as a whole and as a group and in person. So we're looking forward to that. So I want to thank all the committee members for being part of the area plan and making sure that and you guys are being persistent and ready to finish the product. So I'm so proud of you all. I'm glad that you guys are all still together and getting this area plan together. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Begay. Jessica, may I go to you and ask that you share with us and record the names of those community members that are with us this evening?
Brian, just to interrupt real quick, Liz has joined us, Liz Baldwin. Before we do that.
Oh, Liz Baldwin.
Yes,
Quickly
introduce myself.
yourself, please.
Sure, Liz Baldwin, District 4. Been on this wonderful committee since inception. And I just keep on repeating my mantra: dark skies, low density, forced access, and trail.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes.
Let's go to Jessica. Would you please share with us community members?
Yep, I've got from the community Ken Lorton, Barbara Greenlees, Doug Meyer, Vicky, Sheila Walsh, and Russell Weedman.
Thank you. Many common names there that have many individuals who have commonly attended our meetings. So thank you, community members. Is there anyone from the county staff that we need to recognize? Jessica,
we're all here.
You're all here. Okay. That said, let's move on to updates, please.
Thanks, Brian. This is Melissa Shaw with Community Development. Just to remind everybody, if you're having internet issues, it's helpful to turn off the video. And I know that and to stay on mute as well would help with background noise. Tonight, there may be a computer update on the county side at 7 o'clock. So if the connection, if we drop off, we'll get back on, but just to give you a warning on that. And the only other update that we have from community development, besides the good information about redistricting, which is something to definitely pay attention to and get involved with, is we are moving forward to take a utility scale renewable energy ordinance to Planning Commission for their March public hearing. That will be on March 30th. So that information will be out there. And that's all we have, Brian.
Thank you, Melissa. And can you scroll us to our next page? So we're going to go to public comment next. Individuals from the public, community members will have 3 minutes per person. And if you wish to address the committee, unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and please limit it to 3 minutes. Now, I have a problem in that my cell phone battery is dead. It's currently charging. I do not have any way to tell when 3 minutes are up. So Melissa, would I be able to depend upon you or Jessica to help me out here?
Melissa, I'll do it.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. So let's open up the public comment. Any community members wish to share with the committee?
Ken has had his hand up.
Okay. Go ahead.
Ken, if you're speaking, you're muted right now. Or maybe he's not.
Yeah, I don't see his hand up, but
Okay.
I may not be going far enough. Okay, any other community members wishing to address the committee?
Yeah, Brian, this is Russell Weedman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the committee for all the work they've done. And I know it's not an easy job, and I haven't always been easy on the committee, but you know, it's good for the committee to hear what the community thinks and from all different angles. So, but I do want to thank you. So you've done a lot of work on this and spent a lot of time on it. And I know how much time that is. Boy, the hours add up. So anyway, thank you very much. And hopefully when this is all done, it'll really represent what the community wanted. And I think that's been a goal that you've achieved a lot of time. So I'm thankful for that. So anyway, thank you very much and keep up the good work.
Russell, I
Thank you,
appreciate
Russell.
your acknowledgement of the work of the committee. And I also want to thank you for the input that you've had. We may have had different perceptions from time to time, but it's, as you said, it's a conversation that's important to get us onto the right track. Any other community members that would like to share with us? Hearing none, let's move on, please, Melissa.
Okay, Brian, this slide just shows the review that has taken place and the review that needs to happen. We're finishing comments on land use growth and development. We need to finish public safety, transportation, circulation, and the vision statement.
Okay.
I see Mr. Ruggles has his hand up, Brian.
Okay, John Ruggles, your comment, please.
Okay, this is in line with having committee comments at the beginning of this. One thing that I would like to note is I had an email from Kelly Bingham today at Community Development. There's a possibility that we may have a request for a zoning change in order to accomplish a lot split. Now, I want everybody on this committee and the public listening to know that I take the survey and the comments I've heard very seriously. I have not yet decided whether or not to meet this individual for an ex parte discussion about what they are looking for. But in the past, I think there have only been 2 of these in the last 10 years that myself and other members of the commission have been favorable for 2. And I cannot say how I would decide on an issue like this, that it would be patently unfair to everyone. But I certainly intend to keep everyone here advised on what is happening with that. And if there is a hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission, I want to make sure that everyone on the committee and members of the public who are on record as participating are aware of it. the survey spoke very, very loudly.
Thank you, John. I appreciate your informing us of this upcoming potential conversation on a lot split. Let me go to Liz Baldwin.
This was just a question back at John. So this lot split is coming up
Excuse
and you
me,
guys.
Liz, this is Melissa. I need to interrupt here. This is not an agenda item, so I
Okay.
don't think that we should be talking about this at this time.
Okay, John, I'm going to call you later about this. Okay, dear?
Okay, Liz, that would be no problem. We can.
Okay.
Let's
wait
move
for-
Yeah,
on.
it's appropriate. Yeah, it was inappropriate. Sorry, I just got excited about lot split. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, actually, that's a good thing, so don't feel bad about it.
Okay.
So let's see, Melissa, what are we doing? Reviewing of committee comments. Any
Right.
other? Go ahead.
No, go
Melissa.
ahead.
I was going to say, any other comments from the committee before we get started on reviewing the edits that have been proposed for land use? Hearing none, let's go to our next slide, please.
So we've got the slide up. We need to continue reviewing the committee comments about the goals and policies. So we would, at this point, I would go to a different screen and pick up on the review of the comments from Bernice.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we don't have any meeting notes to approve from the last meeting. We will, there's a comment in the question about that. So there are no notes to approve. That will be next meeting. So yeah, we'll continue picking up on review of the committee comments.
Okay.
And let me
Evelyn, I
go.
see your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to mention to Bernice, if we're going to go through these comments of hers, like we have been doing, if she has already recognized that we've already changed it to her ways because she did it so many months ago, if she could let us know ahead of time so that we don't discuss, and then at the last minute she'll go, oh, well, okay, I didn't notice that. So I'm just hoping that maybe she has already reviewed these so that it's up to date, so we're not wasting a lot of time.
Yes, I have.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Melanie.
Evelyn. Okay.
Okay, are we ready for a new screen?
Yes, Melissa,
are.
the attachments that you sent out on residential policy LU5 and LU6 and LU16, are we gonna go over those first or second?
We can do that either way. It's up to Brian, but that is also on tonight's agenda. The committee requested to re-review the text for LU5 and 6, and also LU16, which is at now 19. So whichever order you wanted to take that, Brian.
I'm going to ask, first of all, because I've missed the last two meetings from travel, if you all have been going through these, have we gotten completely through the list?
No, we've not yet, Brian. And I think
Okay.
that might be the best course of action, is to get through this first draft first and then go back to the ones that we need to go back to.
Okay, that's what I was anticipating. Melissa, give me your input, if you will. Does anything that we might change in LU5, 6, or 16, would that affect the other comments that Bernice has made on
No,
wherever we are?
no, those were, the committee had asked to see the final language of those with this. There were, well, for LU16, they wanted to see the side-by-side Bernice's comments and then the original text. So maybe we should pick up there, because we left off, if you can see the screen, we left off right here with this LUX right above LU20. So it might be good to go back and look at the side by side of LU16.
Melissa, this is Bernice. I've got that we left off at the end of LUX right above commercial and non-residential uses and residential zones.
I agree.
You're saying we left off with this LUX?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I have edits to that though.
Right, but we're starting commercial tonight. Commercial and non-residential, but we do need to go back and look at LU 5 and 6 and 16 because I think there's some discrepancies, especially in LU 16 that weren't included.
Okay, so Brian, did you want to start? So here we are, 16 is up here with a strikeout. It was hard for everybody to read because of the format. So
Right.
that's now in the separate tab.
So let's begin with LU 16 and work our way through.
Brian, would it be possible to start with LU 5 and 6 since there was a request last meeting for the clarification on those? Especially.
I understand that there was a request for clarification. What I'm trying to do is to get through a full edit of your comments and then go back to LU 5 and see how whatever we have done since then might affect what we would do with LU 5.
Okay, and LU 6?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
So I'm going to follow the path that Rob laid out the last time, and that is that we will I'm going to ask Melissa to read the current draft of each of the sections that are being revised, and then to read Bernice's comment, and then I'm going to ask that each of you either approve or not approve going back to do another edit so that we can be efficient with our time and not get hung up in too many comments. So with that, Melissa, would you please begin us with LU 16, the current draft version?
I want to make sure the screen is displayed where you see the side-by-side comparison.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very difficult to read for those that don't have a copy. Could it be enlarged?
That's about as large as I can make it.
That's better, thank you.
So on the right is as it's currently drafted, the numbers changing. So LU 16 is actually now LU 19. And it reads rezoning from residential to commercial is strongly discouraged and should be considered only as described in this section. Every effort should be made to utilize existing commercially zoned land prior to requesting a rezoning to commercial. Rezoning may only be considered if there would be an overriding public benefit to residents of the planning area and the zone change meets all of the following criteria. And I'll just stop there and say that then there are 7 criteria below this. And then the without reading all those, then if we want to look at the edits that Bernice is suggesting,
Yes, please.
it's most of that would be taken out and the policy would read this way. Rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted unless it's supported by the majority of specific planning area residents. And I believe that would be the end of the sentence. So it's
I'm sorry. Oh, let me get my hand up. Sorry.
Okay, let's.
So the
keep our focus
criteria,
on-
what you see on the left then is in the
Yes.
strikeout is the suggestion to take all of the criteria away or take it out of the policy.
Melissa, could I please clarify something on that?
Yeah.
Okay, my intention was rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted because we already have commercially zoned property in the RACs. And then if that wasn't allowed, then all my strikeouts would go away, and added in it would be supported by the majority of the specific planning area residents. My preference is that it should not be permitted, but if the majority of the committee does not go for that, then I would like to add that it is supported by the majority of the specific planning area residents.
So Bernice, are you saying,
So
I got my hand up.
hold on,
Okay.
Liz, hold on. Because we've gone over this, supported by a majority of planning area residents before, and we've on a number of occasions said we have no way of managing that. And is that all of the homeowners, all of the, how do you get account of that?
Well,
And
you do it with
it's,
public
unless
hearing.
you're going to run a vote, you're going to have to hold a vote for that, and the county can't possibly hold a vote for every recommended land use change.
Brian, we had this conversation at the last meeting, and we, as a committee, have agreed that trying to poll the community to get a majority was unrealistic and unachievable and should not be included in the plan.
Yes. Other committee members, this has already been decided. I don't see how we could possibly put that into our statement. It's not something that is doable at the county level.
Oh, okay, then I leave my statements as it stands. Rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted, period.
Bernice?
Yes.
Bernice, my question to you, and I guess it's to the rest of the committee, is the reason why is I thought last week, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought last week we said rezoning residential to commercial should not be considered or strongly discouraged, and we put these determinations underneath if it does go, because just like, John Ruggles was just saying, people change planning and zoning and they want to split it and they go to planning zoning and they have so I'm just saying, you don't want any of these descriptions to be followed if by chance it gets slipped in. I thought last week you agreed that we don't want it. We're saying we're strongly discouraging, but if it does go to rezoning, which it can, which someone just said in our meeting, something's going out with lot splits. So it could be a rezoning, a conditional, whatever. You don't want any kind of description of if it does, this is what they have to follow. You're just going to say no, and then there's no bylaws or guidelines if they do a rezoning.
Well, that's what the majority of the survey respondents in our area wanted.
Right, I understand that. And that's why and that's the other thing. I thought the other thing was supported by the majority of specific planning area residents. I didn't think that was saying we don't want this if only because of this. I thought this was saying we don't want it per supported majority of the, I thought it was like verifying what the survey said. It just wasn't a very good description of it. I didn't know it was kind of part of the sentence saying, if only supported by the majority of specific planning area. I thought we were saying, we're making this statement, rezoning residential to commercial should not be permitted per majority specific planning area residents by the survey or something of that nature. So I thought this was more in support of the sentence above it. Did I misunderstand that? That was not part of, because remember we were talking about other parts of the survey that was very controversial. We were going to say per survey, and I thought that's what this was about.
Right, that's an interesting way of putting it. I like your idea.
But that was, look at Rob.
Hold on. This is getting a little confusing here.
Okay.
So
we didn't need that.
Saying, Liz, I'm trying to encapsulate what you're saying. And I think you're saying is that rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted unless the community decides that it wants it.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I was saying, I think Evelyn actually said this from another survey from Belmont, when they had something that was very controversial, they would
Okay,
bring up
what
the
is it?
survey.
Give me one sentence of what you're saying, please, Liz.
Brian, could I interrupt here for a second? I think what the
Yes.
committee talked about 2 weeks ago, last meeting, was to add to the policies, which we will look at, to preface policies with the results of the survey. Is that what you're remembering, Liz? Because we
Yeah, and I didn't know,
yeah,
yes,
I've got edits to show you in terms
correct.
of where those were added, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Okay, but I
because
wasn't crazy. We did talk about that. So,
No,
okay.
we did.
Okay,
And
thank you.
so there are actually 3 specific policies that the committee brought up last time where you wanted the policies prefaced
Okay.
with, in accordance or in line with the 2020 community survey, et cetera. So, yeah.
We've had some
Thank you for that
existing,
clarification. Okay.
Yes,
let me
thank
go
you,
to-
Melissa.
So the question here though, is to look at changes to LU 16. And the one again on the right is how it's currently been drafted with all of the criteria. And the one on the left, as we know, is what Bernice is recommending be changed. So I think that last time we talked about, the committee needing to decide if you want to re-review this or not.
I
Yes.
would like to
We're
say
gonna go-
that this is in line with the 2001 area plan where it says new commercial development that requires commercial zoning occurs on existing commercially zoned land. That is the 2001 area plan that brought us to where we are today.
And it says that right
And
here. It
And
says it
we've
right
been
here.
through this many times. Now, I know John Ruggles had his hand up and Dave Browning has his hand up. Let me go to John Ruggles first.
Okay, I guess first things first, one, I thought we covered this rather well the last time and very thoroughly. I think I saw a nod from your co-chair to that effect. But the other thing is that I think it is worthwhile simply stating that rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted, and then continue with what is in the 2001 area plan, the way it is written, because those are additional criteria that can be used by both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors to make findings of fact that are legally required for decision-making in cases like this. And that's it. Pretty simple in a nutshell.
Thank you, John. We'll come back to that comment to see how it will read. Next, I want to go to Dave Browning.
Yes, from what I just heard from John, I believe that just saying rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted. That doesn't give them any criteria to decide whether they should or shouldn't do it. And I think, and I agree with John, was that should be the first sentence instead of rezoning from residential commercial is strongly discouraged, blah, blah, blah. But the rest of it, I lost my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, John.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm back again. I've got a problem with the computer. So anyway, so I agree with exactly what John said.
Okay.
I'd like
Let me
to
go.
move we vote on any further discussion on this issue.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going, Rob.
Bernice, this is
Those people who want to reconsider how LU 19 is written, please raise your hand under reactions as to reconsider is green, to not reconsider is red.
Can we
So
stop for a
please,
moment, please?
Bernice, I want to do this because we're going to get caught up all evening.
Well, what Melissa wrote as D, I don't think it reflects what we had agreed to. Under LU 16, number D, where it says rezoning. We had talked about we had agreed that we were going to limit the size of the rural activity centers or the commercial centers for the people that don't understand that term, that we would limit it to a total of 20 acres with 5 acres at each corner.
Yes.
Maximum 5 acres at each corner.
That's
And
right,
that's
Bernice, and that's a
That's
separate policy.
exactly what it said. So,
Which policy is that? I thought we changed this one.
No, it's not in this one. I'm looking right now.
Because where it says rezoning should be limited, that could be rezoning of 5 acres and then another rezoning of another 5 acres and then another, on.
But
and
Bernice,
on
if
and
you
on.
look at D, it says should not exceed a total of 5 acres at each corner of the intersection.
Right, but that's rezoning. That's rezoning. It doesn't allow for the existing zoning or existing commercially zoned land that's already there. We had talked about this one and we had said that the total commercial area in a RAC should not exceed 20 acres with a maximum of 5 acres at each corner.
That's right, and it's in a different policy, and I'm looking for that number right now.
But wouldn't this conflict with that policy? Because this says rezoning, and that could be just one application.
It seems pretty, this is for you to decide, but it should not exceed a total of 5 acres at each corner of the intersection. Seems pretty clear.
Well, can we add that into this one too?
It's right here under D.
it's
Right,
already
but
there.
that's rezoning. It doesn't account for the existing commercial zoning in that RAC. No,
Well,
in
they
that-
would have to rezone it though.
That's
no,
what a
we've already
total
got
of
commercial
means.
zoning in
A
RAC.
total of would include the existing and the rezone.
Right, Rob, thank you.
And that's what it
No,
says. a
I'm
total
disagreeing
of.
with you, Bernice. I'm saying that the way this is written, where it says a total of, would mean whatever you're proposing to rezone and what exists cannot exceed 5 acres.
Okay, but it says which should not exceed, but the subject is rezoning. The rezoning is what is or which talks about rezoning. It doesn't talk about the total commercial
Perhaps we
area
should
of the
continue with the
RAC.
vote.
No, I'm agreeing with Rob that it means that there is a total of 5 acres on each corner, period.
Of commercial property? Or it said the word rezoning is right there.
What you're doing is taking the rezoning and applying it as that you could have multiple rezonings and each rezoning could not be more than 5 acres.
Right.
But it says that it cannot exceed a total of 5 acres.
Right, the rezoning will not exceed a total of 5 acres, but what about the commercial property that is zoned already commercial, that is already there?
Then you couldn't have any more.
If I will say that this policy D has already been edited. And you added in the way it used to read should not exceed 5 acres at each corner of the intersection. We've added in should not exceed a total of 5 acres at each corner of the intersection to clarify this very point.
Well, I thought.
Because
the
when we
total
read this-
commercial zoning in RAC should not, I mean, we need to change this to match what we changed before. To make it so that the rural activity centers couldn't sprawl along the streets.
Well, I don't
But there
think
would
they
be
can
limited.
anyway. Well, it is limited. If you read it, the rezoning, any rezoning that occurs, not only could it not exceed 5 acres, but the total amount of acreage in that corner cannot exceed 5 acres.
Right, you say the total amount of commercial acreage in that corner cannot exceed, but that's not what this says. This says the rezoning.
So Bernice, this is Liv. You're saying that this is saying, but it says total. So total on top of the commercial. I mean, total on top of what we have now.
No, this is the total rezoning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you just said what it's saying.
Right, this is the total rezoning in this LU 1D or whatever it is. LU, I think it's 16 or 19, whatever. We need to incorporate the existing commercial zoning
So do you want to say rezoning with the existing commercial should not be, and then go on? Rezoning and?
How about total commercial zoning in the RAC should not exceed 20 acres with a maximum of 5 acres at each corner?
Can we finish the vote?
Total.
Yes.
Total.
let's
No,
go.
because this is misleading.
Stop.
This is saying
Stop.
that you can add an additional 5 acres to what's already there.
That's not true.
Okay. I don't think that, I don't
'Cause that's
agree
rezoning
with
from
that, but
residential.
I
to
am
commercial.
calling
I call the
for a
question.
vote. And I'm asking each individual to vote on whether or not we continue with this revision conversation. Okay, please mark your vote.
Wait, Brian, so I got kind of lost in all of this. So
Okay, go ahead, Taylor.
which editing conversation? Sorry. Can you just, so I want to make sure I'm voting the way I feel. So I want to make sure I understand.
That's a good question, Taylor. Thank you for bringing it up. What I want to do, let's look at the statement at the top. Let's not be trying to edit the qualifiers A, B, C, D, E, F yet. Let's look at the statement at the top. Do we want to go with the current draft, which is rezoning from residential to commercial is strongly discouraged, or with Bernice's reconsider and go with, and consider Bernice's rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted? That's what I'm asking for you to vote on. Is that clear to everyone?
So a yes vote means we go with the current, or it means we go with what Bernice is suggesting?
What I'm suggesting is what's in the 2001 area plan. It is.
It would mean we
Okay,
consider
Bernice,
conversation.
that's not what we're dealing with now. Rob,
Okay, now
let
I'm
me
confused.
ask you, because I want to be consistent. Last week, or last time you got together, did a yes, no vote? What did a yes vote mean?
At the last
To maintain
meeting,
the
I
current
asked
policy?
whether we should continue conversation or additional conversation was necessary on a particular edit. If the folks wanted to continue the conversation, they would use the green check block. And if they did not want to continue conversation and were satisfied as it existed, they would use the red X.
Okay, is that clear to all of the community members?
Yes, but this is
To
Liz.
all of the
So,
committee members?
I've got a question though. Can I ask my question?
Yes.
So this is just the two statements, not the clarifications A, B through F. We're not even considering that. It's either one or the other, or the 19 longer statement, including the A through F, or not including A through F. We're not going to include A through F because I think A through F is important in my vote.
Number one, we're trying to keep this simple. Okay, to do that, let's look at the highlighted section that Melissa has under LU 19 as currently drafted. If you, that's all we're going to consider, that and then Bernice's corresponding statement saying rezoning from residential to commercial should not be permitted, period. Okay.
Because I'm not going to vote for 19 if it doesn't include the A through F because it just leaves your pants down.
Liz, we're going to come back to A through F.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what I'm voting for because I'm
I
like,
get it.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Committee members, would you please register whether you want to continue the conversation on the introduction as I've previously designated? Yes.
Ryan, if you're working from a smaller screen right now, you have 6 no's, 1 yes.
Okay, thank you, Rob. I was going from a smaller screen. Okay. So we are going to keep the draft, the current version of LU 19. Okay. Now, let's move to the qualifiers, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Let's go one at a time. Did Bernice have any qualifiers for A? Your recommendation was to delete them.
That's the way it looks, Brian. They were all struck.
Yes, they're all deleted. Okay, so having kept the introductory paragraph then is supported by the qualifiers A through G, or whatever the last lettered qualifier is. Is the committee, I'm going to ask them for a vote. Here, I got to take mine off. Does the committee want to reconsider A through G qualifiers to the draft as it currently stands? Please record your votes.
I don't think people understand. It was hard for me to wrap my head around this. There is already commercial zoning and commercial activity in the RACs. The
That's
word
right.
zoning residential to commercial would add to that and increase the volume of acreage that would be in the commercial activity, or the residential the rural activity centers, which are the commercial centers. And that would rezoning equals new commercial zoning. You know, that's adding to it. It's making the RACs larger with no boundary.
Okay, so I'm going to offer this as an edit. What if we were to take let's see,
Just add the word combined total.
Combined total, that's exactly what I was looking at. The combined total should not exceed 5 acres at each corner.
How about the combined total of commercial zoning in the RAC should not exceed 5 acres?
May I interrupt for a second? Because there was a new policy number 18 that this committee added on December 14th. And it reads, rural activity centers should not exceed a total of 20 acres with a maximum of 5 acres at each of the 4 corners. This is a policy that the committee wrote in December, and it falls right under, I can show the screen if you would like. It falls right under the description of the rural activity centers.
And does that precede the section that we're working on now?
No.
Melissa?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It's right here. Did that display?
Yes.
Do you see the Word document with the strikeout and the addition? Okay, so I'm going to go back up. I'll make it bigger. Okay, so here, 14 is the description of the activity centers. Go down here, 17 became a new number. 18 is a new policy that you added on December 14th.
Can we incorporate that into D here?
Why?
Because they're in conflict.
They're not in conflict.
See, well, this is, I've got my hand up. This is what I don't understand. And I got my hand up. So if you're saying a maximum of 5 acres on the 4 corners, and that's the original one, a rural activity. Bernice, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, Bernice. Are you saying that the rezoning, you think they're going to add 5 more acres and that total will be 5 acres? Is that what you're saying? Because it says total acreage.
Well, no, it doesn't say total acreage. It's the total rezoning.
So you're saying 20 acres to begin with, and then 20 acres on top of that. That's how you read it.
Well, no, I read it.
No.
Rezoning should be limited. There's already commercial at all of these rural
Right.
activity centers. It says.
And so what is, and so
rezoning should be limited to 5 acres. That's what this says.
Right, so they're 5 acres and you're saying the rezoning will add another 5 acres.
Correct.
Okay, see, I was just trying to,
That's
because,
not how it reads. It reads.
see,
a
that's how I don't
total-
interpret it that way either. That's why I was trying to understand where she's coming from.
Well,
Now
it's
I get it.
rezoning
Now I
should
get it,
limit
right.
it. It's talking about rezoning. There's
Well,
already commercial there. We're going to rezone more residential into that commercial area to be in addition to what's already there.
I can see that's a concern, but if it already says it will only get to 5, oh, I see. And then if you rezone it, then you do 5 more acres. I get that, okay.
Correct.
You aren't saying, so really, you can't have any rezone, well, you could do rezoning, you're right, because you can rezone it, look what's going on right now, okay.
Yes.
That's what okay. It's on top of this already exceed a total of 20 acres, okay,
I'm trying to put a limit on the commercial
yeah. So if it's really, yeah,
as per our survey results.
right.
So is
I
there a
don't see
way
it
that we can say
saying that.
total commercial zoning in the RAC should not exceed 20 acres, 5 acres at each corner?
Okay. So first of all, Rob has suggested that we use combined total, which would then clarify Bernice's concern. Now, I
Yes.
see Harriet has her hand up. Harriet, your comment, please.
It's a clarification. The term is rezoning commercial. Are we assuming, or is it in writing somewhere, that rezoning commercial only will take place in the the currently 20-acre zoned commercial area? What if I want to sell my lot and it gets rezoned commercial? Is that what you're talking about? Or is it strictly restricted to those 4 corners of 20 acres being rezoned? What's being rezoned? Residential areas like my lot here, out in the middle of nowhere, and it's not connected to a commercial area. Is that what you're trying to restrict? Or are we arguing about expanding the size of the currently commercial areas in the plan?
So you're asking, are we asking to rezone the rural activity center?
Right. Are we restricting all commercial to that area, or are we trying to limit what can be done with residential property? If they wanted to rezone my lot and make it commercial, it would be limited to 5 acres. Is that what we're saying right now? Or are we saying only only current commercial areas can be rezoned? Where's this land that's
Brian,
being?
may I clarify?
Yes, Melissa, please
So
intercede.
Harriet, I am not 100% sure where you live, but I do not believe that you live in a rural activity center. And this policy is saying that the only rezoning from residential to commercial should occur in a rural activity center. So that right there is a limiting factor.
Okay,
So
that's what
anything outside of those
it.
bubbles, if you will, the major intersections would not be.
So we're not talking about anything outside of those
Correct.
already zoned commercial areas, and that's all we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
within
That's
the
correct.
rural activity centers, remember there are 7 of them.
Yeah, no, I
There
understand. But
Yeah,
does-
there is existing residential zoning. So that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly, that's just, it's gotten so wild and out of control. I don't know whether we're talking about rezoning any residential property into something else or not. But if we're just talking about those 20 acres, I will
Right.
I'll try to think coherently.
Right, that's where we are.
Okay.
It's just the areas within the activity centers. And I do want to clarify that we've talked about this multiple times.
Yes.
And there are some rural activity centers that already have more than 20 acres of commercial zoning in them. So those would not be eligible for any future rezonings based on the policy wording.
So why are we even including this rezone?
Liz,
What?
Liz, hold on a minute. Dave
Sorry.
Browning had his hand up.
Oh, sorry, I did not.
Okay, Dave, you had your hand up.
No, I took it down. I don't have that comment now.
Thank you, sir. I'm taking a deep breath. So
What are we arguing about? I'm completely lost.
I am lost now too.
I want to just call the question and leave it alone. I call the question.
I would
Okay.
like to speak if I can, since my hand's up. I finally learned how to do that.
Yes, speak.
There is already commercial zoning and commercial building in the rural activity centers. So rezoning residential to commercial would add to it. And what we're trying to do is limit the size of the commercial or of the rural activity center or the commercial area as per the survey and the wants of the community to, I'm not even sure the community wants to expand it to this.
To 5 acres.
Yeah, to
Okay.
5 acres. Some of them might, it sounds like the majority of them don't. But this
So-
seems like a compromise.
let me ask Melissa. Melissa, do we have any of the rural activity centers which include private property?
Most of it's
Not
private
commercial.
property.
Pardon?
All of them are except
Yeah, it's
for
all
the,
private.
Let me restate that. Residential.
They all include some residential.
They all include some residential. So there is the potential for residential to be reclassified, rezoned.
Now I get it. Now I get it.
Okay. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes,
Melissa?
if there is residential zoning in an activity center, that is what this policy is addressing, because that could potentially be requested to rezone.
Okay. Now, going back to letter D, where Rob offered the edit of a combined total of the rezoning and existing
Yes.
commercial shall not exceed or should not exceed 5 acres.
20 acres. total.
Okay.
5
5
acres
acres
per
in each
corner.
corner, 20 acres
Yeah,
total.
maximum 5 acres at each corner.
So we could edit letter D to say
Yes.
rezoning should be limited to the 600 feet, with a maximum of 5 acres per corner or 20 acres per
Yes.
rural activity center as the maximum size.
Maximum size of rezoning or maximum size of the activity center?
As I just said, the maximum size.
Maximum size of what?
Of the rural activity center, so that you don't have more than 20 acres per rural activity center, except for those that are already, how shall I say this?
They'd be
Yeah.
grandfathered.
Okay,
Brian, I'm going to show the track change document. Can you see that?
yes,
So here's D. Rezoning should be limited to 660 feet of frontage on major arterial roads and 330 feet of frontage on collector roads, which should not exceed a total of 5 acres at each corner of the intersection, or a combined total of 20 acres of commercial zoning in each rural activity center. Will that be sufficient?
Could that first part be problematic? Because we could say rezoning should be limited to that amount, but if there's already existing there, do we want to say limited to
A
that?
combined total of new and existing?
thought we were voting.
wait a
I
minute.
think we need to get the wording right first.
So if it's a combined total, it doesn't matter whether it's new and existing, does it? I mean, if you want to, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. I'm going to follow Harriet. I'm going to ask that each of the committee members raise your hand if you are in favor of the writing the edit that Melissa just made to Part D, then raise your hand as green. If you are opposed to what Melissa wrote in Part D, then raise your hand as red.
I
Okay,
think
please.
I think it needs to be clarified because she put or a combined total of new and existing.
It's
There's an
supposed to be
or there.
4. It's supposed to be 4.
Okay, it says rezoning. Okay, you can rezone 5 acres or you can,
No, that's
for a combined
No
total.
longer says that.
Bernice, go back and read it.
Oh, that's a 4. 4, I'm sorry. It's so small. Can you make it bigger?
Brian, you have
There
7
you
votes to
go.
accept it as it is.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're moving on. Thank you, Melissa.
So did we already take a vote?
Yes,
What did it come out to?
we have 7 votes for. And I don't know, I can't see all of the voting.
There were 7 votes for, and I think 1 or
Okay.
2 that did not vote.
So
Okay.
we had a clear majority.
I appreciate that. That's limiting the size of the RACs, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, shucks, what did I do? I just took myself out of the meeting.
Nope, you're still here.
You're still there, Brian.
Well, I've lost the screen. Let me,
We see you.
you may see me. Okay, I got it back. Thank you.
You're there.
Melissa, what is our next edit that we're dealing with? Melissa, there you are.
It would be
Sorry.
the commercial,
I was muted.
this document though.
So I had a note that we had ended here, but I think Evelyn and Bernice they were commenting that we ended just above LU 18. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I have, that we, right where it says commercial and non-residential uses in residential zones goal, that is where we should start now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So let's scroll on down then to the next comment, please.
And that would be on LU 18.
Brian, I
And-
propose we have a vote on this immediately because we've already discussed this many times in the past and tonight.
Okay, let's read it first so we know what we're voting on. The county should continue to allow home occupations and cottage industries with appropriate conditions stipulated to ensure that the neighborhood rural character is preserved. That such uses are incidental to residential use and do not change the residential character and are supported by the majority of the specific planning area residents and property owners. Is the blue part added by Bernice? Is that
Yes,
Yes.
the colored is added.
okay? So I want to call for a vote. Kelly, how do I do this?
I would suggest a green check mark if you would like to discuss it, a red X to leave it as it is.
Okay, thank you, Rob. So the green check mark to leave it as it is and a red to discuss it.
That's the
Can
opposite.
I
of
call a
what-
question? I have.
Go
a que-
ahead.
Supported by the majority of the specific planning area residents and property owners, does that involve a vote that we've already said would be impossible to do?
It would.
That's what I thought. So we're now going to approve having a vote that we can't possibly do.
Well, they have to have a conditional use permit and it would go before planning and zoning and residents could voice their opinions there.
But it's not the same thing as supported by.
That I would agree with Harriet. That is, individuals of interest going to express their support or opposition to. It's not the residents and property owners being asked what they want.
I see
If we-
Jim has his hand up.
Let me go to Jim Clifford.
When it comes before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the property is posted, the residents have the opportunity to voice their opinions and give comments on the CUP. So this is, we can't put this in here because the residents do not have a vote. And the property owners, they can voice their opinion. And that's what the Planning and Zoning Commission will vote on the CUP.
Thank you, Jim.
Like to make one addition to that comment by Jim that adds a little bit more to it. And that is the fact that when it comes to the Planning and Zoning Commission and to the Board of Supervisors, depending on what it is, the basis for the decision is a finding, our series of findings of fact. And voting on it is not a part of that because that abrogates what the legal responsibility is that we have to adhere to at the Planning and Zoning Commission and also Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, John. So call for a vote. How do I, the original, go ahead, Rob.
I would suggest that if someone would like to see the change incorporated, they use a green check mark. And if they would like to leave it as it is and not add the proposed change, they use a red X.
Is everyone clear with what Rob has said?
Yep.
It sounds to me like you want to, what do you want, a red X if you put the period after residential character?
That would be correct.
Okay, and so a red X on that, okay.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red X's and 1 green check.
I see 9 X's and 1 green.
Oh, forgot myself.
Okay. So we will delete and are supported by the majority of the specific plan area residents. Okay. Melissa, do you need to make any edits on that?
I've got notes, so.
Okay. Let's move on to, let's see, industrial. Industrial
So-
users are restricted to exist. I can't read that.
Would you like me to read it, Brian?
Yes, please.
So the goal is industrial uses are restricted to existing industrially zoned areas. And then the suggested change is to add a policy, which would be an LUX. And it says no rezoning to industrial shall be considered. That's the suggested addition.
That's what we have now in our area plan. It's the current area plan.
So this is Sailor. So we we have no control over that.
Right.
This area plan could.
Well, we can make suggestions, but we can't actually force anybody's hand to do anything, or we're not making any policies. So,
Well, this is
So
a guide
that's
to
it.
the new zoning code.
I'm sorry, what?
This is a guide to the new zoning code.
Yeah, but it actually says no rezoning to industrial shall be considered. And so.
Right,
it
that's what
sounds
our
to-
current area plan says, and it's legal. We can say that.
So I don't, well,
Um,
first of all, I don't
oh,
even
hold
know if
on.
this is about what is legal. Like, I'm not even talking from a legal perspective, but just based on like what makes sense.
Right. And secondly, there is a comment there by Melissa. The county cannot prevent a property owner from applying for rezoning. To be approved, it must meet the findings. So I would have to agree with Sailor. You can't, that's not a viable statement for our document.
Well, it's for the document we
Let's
have
vote.
now.
Okay, so those people who want to include no zoning to industrial shall be considered. No rezoning to industrial shall be considered. Use a green. For those who want to eliminate the no zoning to industrial shall be considered, use a red.
I believe that the area plan survey did not want more industrial growth. Maybe we should go back to looking at what the survey said as we go along with each one of these.
Well,
Because
it's
it doesn't matter.
pretty clear, Bernice, the county cannot prevent somebody from applying for a rezoning.
Right, but it won't be considered. Just like it shouldn't be considered now because this area plan has it in the area plan. That's the reason why we're not developed and starting to look like Flagstaff. It's because of this area plan.
Okay, I've called for a vote. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't see all of them. Rob, can you give me a quick count?
Right now I have 7 no's,
What are we voting on again, please?
8 no's.
Okay, so
What
we
does
have
a yes
voted.
vote says? What does
Bernice?
a yes vote say?
A yes vote says to retain what your edit is. A no vote says to discard it. And we have 8 votes that say
1, 2, 3,
discard
4,
it.
5, 6, 7 right now,
7.
and
Okay.
1 to retain it. So the majority would like to remove it.
Yes.
So
So we
the
remove it.
majority wants more industrial and they're against the survey.
That's
You
not
know,
what
here's the
it's
deal.
saying.
I need to say something for a minute because that statement is not acceptable. That is not what I said. And I don't believe that's what anybody here is saying. And that is the exact opposite of what I want. So Bernice, please, we can have conversation without you being disrespectful.
I'm just trying to go along with the residents of the community that don't want this, the residents who actually live here.
Okay.
Where do the rest of us live then?
So let's move on to the next edit that Bernice proposed.
Okay, that would be to LU 20. And the addition, sorry. For existing industrial zones, only low water using industrial facilities not exceeding 25,000 gallons of water per month shall be given consideration. The way that policy is currently written is only low water using industrial facilities should be considered, period. And there was discussion, as you see in the note, on adding a number to that when the committee was first reviewing the policy.
Melissa, can you read that note? I can't read it with everyone's face up there. I just
Sorry.
see comment. Yeah, just please.
Well, the note is just recalling the previous conversation that the 25,000 gallons was an arbitrary number. And we've had some follow-up discussions with Doney Park Water about, you know, the reality of how many gallons some residential users use versus, you know, industrial users actually can use quite a bit less. So it was not a number that had any basis in any sort of research that we found.
It was used in the 2001 area plan, and it's a limit, not an arbitrary number.
As the Doney Park Water Company said, they are the ones that can determine what is sustainable in the aquifer to a much better degree than we can. So I don't believe that we have the, I don't think we have the information to set an amount of gallons that should be used per month, or could be.
We've already
Doney
decided
Park
that in
Water's
previous
concerned about
conversation.
infrastructure.
So I'm gonna call, let's see.
Can we have
Melissa,
some
do you
discussion
have-
before the vote?
Hold on, Bernice.
No,
Melissa, do you have a writing of how it is currently within the draft?
Yes, hang on one second. I will get over there.
Thank you.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so it's LU 23.
Correct. Only low water using industrial facilities should be considered.
Okay, I'm going to call for the question. If you want to keep what is currently the policy, that is what's on the screen now, use green. If you want to reconsider this, use red.
There's a problem with infrastructure with the Doney Park Water Company. There's also a problem of contamination, and industrial seems to probably have more of a possibility of contamination. And it was the well at Mountain View Market that had to be shut down because of high nitrates.
Brian, the vote is
That's a big
7-2.
concern about water.
Thank you, Rob. The vote is 7-2. And we will move on to LU 24. Was there did Bernice offer a edit to LU 24, Melissa?
The next edit is an addition. And it would read, only industrial projects that are not detrimental to the health, safety, welfare of area residents and surrounding neighborhood shall be considered. And my comment was that this is a standard finding for all projects requiring a conditional use permit or a rezoning or a subdivision. It's a standard finding.
Okay, so that is included in any conditional use permit review.
Correct.
And therefore, it would be redundant for us to include it. Those people who want to include Bernice's edit, this is a new edit. It's not in the current draft. Vote green if you want to keep Bernice's edit. Vote red if you want to delete her edit. Okay.
8. I see 8 no votes. 8 red
8
votes.
no. Okay. Let's move on to the next edit, please.
Okay, that would be to number 21. And the addition is the words in purple here, design review, overlay, and performance standards for industrial zones shall be strictly adhered to.
What do we, Melissa and perhaps Jim or John, what do we gain by adding performance to the conversation here, to the sentence?
okay. Performance reflects the way the current zoning ordinance is written in a number of ways. And that is the incorporation of performance standards for different uses. Pretty standard sort of thing in a lot of jurisdictions now. That if you have a use that is there by right, or that is established by right, and let's say you do a rezone to accommodate that use, then there are performance standards for that use in the zoning code. That's the way it is supposed to work. So
Okay.
it just the mere, I mean, you don't really even have to say it because that's been incorporated in the zoning code for various uses.
What, is there any negative side from the planning and zoning? And Jim Clifford, feel free to chime in. Is there any negative side to including that statement and performance?
Boy,
No,
I really don't see any.
no, there isn't. It's already in our code.
Okay. Okay, so if you would like to, I'm calling for a vote. If you would like to continue with and performance, please select green.
Before you do that,
Brian, don't.
Go ahead.
hey,
Go
you
ahead.
got one thing in there. You got the word shall, and that is inappropriate. Should, and you're good to go.
Thank you for catching that. So
And-
shall will be changed to should.
And Brian, I don't think we need to vote on this because it's already in the code.
Okay.
There's
So
nothing
since
to vote on. It's already there.
It's already
That's
there,
just-
so it becomes
Yep.
redundant.
It's redundant. So let's leave it there and just move on. Just change shall to should.
Okay. So there's no need, what I'm hearing is there's no reason to vote on it, so we're simply gonna move on.
Are we
to-
eliminating it or adding?
We
it
are
into-
eliminating it.
Okay, can't the zoning code change? And isn't this a guide to future zoning for the next 20 years?
Next 10 by plan.
Actually, I have to disagree with that statement. The area plans, although you have heard someone say, yes, they drive the zoning code. I can tell you that zoning codes have been around for far longer than area plans. And the fact of the matter is that in a number of counties, there are no such things as area plans. Yavapai County is a good example of that. So saying that just is misleading.
Okay, thank you, John.
Well, what does this area plan do then?
So we're gonna stick to this comment, or this suggested edit, rather. And what I'm hearing from both members of the Planning and Zoning Commission is that this is already in the planning code and is not necessary for inclusion in our area plan.
Could I add one other thing to that, please?
Yes.
That if there is any question about what the purpose of the area plan is and how it is to be done and implemented, I would suggest that you read ARS 11-804. It lays it out very succinctly in plain language.
I'm afraid I'm not going to read that tonight, John, but thank you. I'm adding a little levity. Okay. That being already covered, let's move to LU, please.
You have a hand up from Harriet.
Yeah, I just want to make the
Thank
point.
you, Rob. Harriet?
Rob, thank you both. I just want to make the point that it's almost 7:30 and we have a long way to go, I think, if we're going to finish. So we either speed up or cut it short.
Thank you, Harriet. Melissa, I'm assuming that the purple is added to the current draft that the committee has written. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Right, uh-huh. And it
Okay.
looks like it's a question. Under LU 23, it's a question.
Okay. Committee members, please read that.
I can read it if you want. So the current policy is written for industrial uses requiring a conditional use permit. At a minimum, the following concerns and impacts should be considered. Roads, dust, roads, traffic, dust, visual impact, infrastructure, fire protection, odor, lighting, and hazardous materials. And the question is, shouldn't this be for all industrial uses, not just those requiring a CUP? And then the comment that I made was that, yes, those are, and for permitted industrial uses, all zoning code standards, engineering standards, and environmental quality standards are reviewed with each project application. So we review those to the extent that all of those other codes apply.
So once again, this is already covered under other stipulations. So
It sounds as if LU 23 really isn't necessary because it is a standard part of every review.
it does. Is LU 23 currently?
Yes,
one of
that's
the-
currently one of your
Okay.
draft policies. That's right.
Well, does it have all the things in it like dust, visual impairment, infrastructure, fire protection?
Yes,
odor?
it's verbatim how you've got it listed.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So are you satisfied with that, Bernice?
Yes,
Okay,
as long as it's,
So we-
like Melissa said it is.
I can
Good.
show you right now if you want to go over there.
We trust you.
That's okay.
okay. Harriet, did you have a comment? I see your hand is still up. Thank you, Harriet.
I'm just playing around with all these damn symbols.
Okay, let's move on to public and semi-public goals.
There's no changes.
Yeah,
There's
there's no
no changes.
changes. So those are,
Okay,
and in fact, there's no changes. Now, just to clarify, there is an LU 26. So there's an additional policy there, but we're not going to go and look
okay,
at that right now. So the next change would be a new land use policy here in purple, increasing zoning code compliance and protect the safety of those reporting a zoning violation by establishing a system that allows for anonymous reporting of violations. And my note here was currently the county does not accept anonymous reports. I see John has his hand up, Brian.
go ahead, John.
Okay, just one more time, use of should as opposed to shall in some of the preceding sentences. I think you've got that.
In LU 25 right now.
Where are you
LU
referring to?
LU 25. Well, overall, in any review of this, I don't want to have to bring this up to say it should read should instead of shall at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. Why don't we get it sorted out right now?
Good.
Yeah, he's
Good,
showing in
suggestion.
25, it does say shall.
I'm fine with 25 as it reads.
Well, John's comment is that shall needs to be edited to should,
Oh, correct.
okay?
I would hope county staff could just do a global search for every word, every place shall exists, replace it with should. The committee has already voted that that's what we want to do.
You bet. That's the way to go.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on, please. So increasing, let's see. So the county does not accept anonymous reports.
Okay. We are the
There
only
is
county.
no way we can put that in if it's not in compliance with county process.
Well, we are the only county out of 15 counties in the state of Arizona that don't allow anonymous reports for the
Okay,
safety of the
so
people reporting and the families
So,
that have to live in these areas.
Bernice, if you want to follow that, and I think you have a point here, then that would happen outside this committee. But we
Well, could
cannot,
encourage- We could encourage
Well, we
the
can't.
county to follow up on that.
Could we make that statement different?
What do you
We're
mean,
talking
Liz?
about zoning enforcement.
Well, like, because we're saying this is a guidance document that we're just saying we would like to further investigation. I mean, I know it's been told that we can't, and then this is, but couldn't we make a statement or change that a little bit to say that we encourage more protection?
Bernice, is the source of this proposed change yourself, or is this something where we saw a number of survey comments suggesting that anonymous reporting should be supported?
You know, I brought this up myself because I had called every single county to find out, and even the city of Flagstaff allows it, but we're not allowed out here to
Okay.
do it.
You answered my question. So
Yeah.
this is your personal opinion, not a result of the survey, right?
Well, there were a lot of people on the survey, on the initial survey in 2001 that complained about zoning violations.
But not about anonymous reporting.
There were people that have talked on this committee come online, and they made comments on the survey, on the written comments, that they were being threatened by people because of reporting illegal zoning activity.
Okay, Harriet has her hand up there, Brian.
Go ahead, please, Harriet.
All the question.
Okay, so Harriet has called for the question. Those individuals who want to continue discussing this, use green. Those individuals who want to move on, use red.
I see 7 red and 2 green, 8 red, 2 green.
Okay, so we will not include the current LUX increasing zone compliance. And let's move on, please.
Okay, the next change would be to LU 28, and it's shown in colored purple. Increase residents' awareness of zoning regulations through county staff and community efforts, such as but not limited to providing information to residents, neighborhood watch group meetings, and other community events. So it currently reads, increase residents' awareness of zoning regulations through community efforts, such as but not limited to attending neighborhood watch group meetings.
Okay, so this expands, then Bernice's comment here expands it to include county staff being involved in providing information to residents, neighborhood watch meetings, and other community events.
Right.
If you want to continue discussing this, use green. If you want to discontinue it, choose red. Rob, do you have a count for us?
We've got 6 red and 2 green.
6 red and 2 green. Okay, so we move on. Please erase your comments if you reactions if you have not done so.
And this is,
go ahead.
so the proposed edits to LU 30, that's the last comment, I believe, of this batch. So it would, I'll read the policy. County departments should cooperate and coordinate with each other and other agencies on gathering information on violations and on subsequent enforcement to ensure timely resolution of violations. This strategy could include surveys of illegal activities as well as of legal non-conforming uses in order to monitor progress toward compliance and to supplement the enforcement program. non-conforming uses should be monitored for any illegal or unauthorized expansion. And the way it currently reads is county departments should cooperate and coordinate with each other on gathering information on violations to ensure timely resolution of violations.
Okay. So if you want to continue discussing this, use green. If you want to discontinue, if not discuss it, then use red.
We've got 5 red and 2 green.
Thank you. All right. So we will keep the writing as it currently is for LU 30. Melissa,
Yes.
where do we go from here? Do I have any hands up? Did I see one? No. Okay.
Now we would go back and re-review LU 5 and 6.
Okay.
And then this is what we talked about last meeting, and you can see the track changes on. And the committee wanted to see it in writing. Would you like me to read it, or can everybody read this?
Would you read it, please? Because we have some people that are on the phone.
Yeah. So the goal was revised: undeveloped forest service and other land with high resource value in and adjacent to the planning area is preserved. And then LU 5 was edited to read, to preserve publicly owned lands as open space, the rural growth boundaries established through the Flagstaff Area Regional Plan should be maintained in order to define the extent of developable land. And then LU 6 was added as a supplemental policy, and it
Okay.
reads, sorry.
Melissa, I want to take this one step at a time rather than trying to do a mass vote. First of all, on the policy, undeveloped Forest Service land, Forest Service and other land with high resource value in and adjacent to the planning area is preserved. Is the section that's being added the red, or is
Yes.
it the blue?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Is-
so this is based on the conversation with the committee, and how we captured the discussion is shown in the red track changes.
Okay,
And Bernice
So-
has her hand up, Brian.
go ahead, Bernice. Bernice?
Okay, is that other land public land, or is it residential, private, commercial? What kind of land is it? What's the other land?
Well, you're the one that, were you the one that wrote this, or was
No,
this
this-
something? Okay,
This was
Okay.
committee input.
thank you.
We didn't want to restrict it to just Forest Service. We wanted to include state trust or any other kind of
Public
land.
land? Maybe we should add more clarification on that.
By
Well,
other,
the
we
only-
include all other. If we
Yeah.
start delineating specific types, then we perhaps limit it. I prefer to stay with other.
Okay.
Because that is inclusive. With high resource value in and adjacent to the planning area is preserved. So
That's the goal. And
that
so,
is the
yeah,
goal.
that's the goal. And then the policies that are nested under it are below.
And do we need to accept the goal first and then go to the has this goal been accepted by the committee?
The goal is what was captured from the committee conversation at the last meeting. So it was just, this is just a confirmation basically of the minutes, if per se, or of that. We could vote on it real quickly if you wanted to, but this was a good
Let's vote on
capture
it.
of what a committee input was last meeting.
Okay, let's vote on it quickly, and the reason is then it's officially adopted.
Okay.
So if you want to adopt this as our goal, use green. If you do not want to adopt this as our goal and continue discussion on the policy, then use red.
We've got 8 green and 1 red.
Okay, I will be green to adopt it. Okay, so we've got more green than red. The policy is adopted. Let's go to LU5, please.
Okay, and the only change is in red there, to preserve publicly owned lands as open space. The rural growth boundaries established through the Flagstaff Area Regional Plan should be maintained in order to define the extent of developable land. So public was changed to publicly owned.
So if you want to adopt publicly owned lands, use green. If you want it to read simply as public lands, use red.
I see 7 green. 8
Okay.
green.
The edit is adopted as publicly owned.
And then the next, what would be number LU6 was a new policy. And so it would read residential zoning on Arizona State Trust Land, Section 2 of Township 21 North, Range 8 East within the DPTF planning area is incompatible with current community values. This section of state trust land is valued by the community for the natural, cultural, and recreational resources located on site and should be preserved as open space, utilizing grants such as the Land and Water Conservation Fund grants managed by Arizona State Parks and Trails.
So this is a new policy.
Correct.
All right.
And this was a result of the inputs from Doug, identifying that specific property and the zoning that it had. And we all agreed that it needed, it wasn't consistent to see that zoned the way that it currently is.
Okay. So thank you for the clarification there, Rob. If you want to adopt this policy,
Excuse me,
go ahead.
I've got my hand up. After should be preserved as open space utilizing grants, could we add and other means available so we don't limit ourselves to grants for preserving that
such
land?
as, yeah.
Dave Browning, go ahead.
Yeah, I think such as allows flexibility.
But it's saying utilizing grants such as, so different
No.
types of grants. But we
I
could
believe
use
he's
some-
saying it
another
should be
means.
preserved. Utilizing such as utilizing grants.
And other means available would be nice.
I've
Because
got
there
to
may be
agree with
another
Dave on that.
opportunity.
Dave, can you restate your suggested edit?
No, I didn't have a suggested edit. I felt that open space or that preserved as open space. I felt that the such as was self-evident.
But that describes the grants. I want to open it up to other means.
While it describes a particular example, and I think that was a result of Melissa's inputs, it by no means limits it whatsoever, the way I read it.
Right, you're not limited to the land and water conservation. What I hear Bernice saying is she wants to say should be preserved as open space, utilizing grants and other mechanisms.
Yeah, and other methods or other means available.
You could
But then
just
that messes
say-
up because,
Yeah,
You can just say such as, but not limited to.
there you go.
That is the way we do that with a lot of
Yep.
other things, you know.
That sounds
Covers the
good, but
bases.
it's still saying utilizing grants.
No, but such as, but not
As.
limited to, opens it up, and it says you're not restricted to that, which addresses your concern over it.
Yep, I agree with John. So if you would like to add not limited to, then use green. If you do not want to include not limited to, use red. Then we're going to come back to adopting whether or not we adopt the statement. Does that make sense?
7 green right now. 8, 9.
So we're adding not limited to. Okay. This next vote is on adopting the policy.
Excuse me, can I ask a question about that last one we voted on? If there came a vote to preserve that property using tax money, would it be allowed under what we just voted on? To preserve that land is proximity to Walnut Canyon?
So
Well,
you're saying a
it's-
voter initiative
Yeah.
suggested that the county, this would have no impact whatsoever. If the voters voted for it, this is overridden.
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay, it would be overridden by the voters. I just wanted to open up more ways of preserving that land besides grants.
And we've done
Well,
that.
that's exactly what John's statement does.
Okay, I can't read it. Could you please read it again? What-
So I just flipped to the Word version to make sure that we're capturing it correctly.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yes,
So here, such as, but not limited to, does follow grants. Was that the correct insertion?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's still saying the only way you can preserve it is with grants.
No, it does not.
No, that, I disagree, Bernice.
clearer if we just said, this is Liz. Would it be clear if you said utilizing grants and other grants
Grants and other means?
and other
How's
means?
that? So I put a comment
Oh,
after
and other
grants,
means.
utilizing
Okay, there you
grants
go.
Such as but not limited to, or other means at the end.
Okay,
Oh, there you go. Thank you so much, Melissa.
yeah.
Thank you. I want to
Okay.
help preserve that land.
Oh, I gotta reduce my vote there. So we've now amended it to add or other means. I'm
So
just
then
gonna
do we
ask,
take-
is there any, hold on, Liz. Is there any committee member who objects to adding or other means to this statement? Speak up.
I'm trying to.
Okay. What? Now,
Okay, so then do we take out such as but not limited to because we're saying or other means and it's not so cluttery? So utilizing grants such as da-da-da-da-da or other means and take out but not limited to, because then we're saying it twice, right? At the middle and the end, correct?
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna
Good
take that
point.
out. Okay,
So if we remove, Melissa, let's remove, but not limited to.
correct. Yeah,
Should we
Okay.
also add, or any other means?
Yeah, I like that even
I-
better. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I don't think you need it, but I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I suppose if you
kidding, I'm
wanted
sorry,
to rob
Steve.
a bank, that would fall into that category.
he was kidding.
Okay. So let's do this once more. To adopt this statement, press green. If to reject the policy, use red.
Got 8 greens so far, no reds. 9 greens.
Okay, so the policy is adopted. Thank you, Jessica. And Melissa, where do we go from here?
Public comment or closing the meeting.
It's 7:50.
Okay. So
So that would go back to public comments, and let's go back to the PowerPoint to see where we were.
Schedule review and
Yeah. Sorry, my cursor is disappearing on me. There we go. Okay. There we go. So
Okay.
here's, go ahead, Brian, sorry.
well, I was going to say, we've now completed the land use policy. It's pretty late, so I'm anticipating that we're not going to continue with public safety this evening. Is that an accurate statement?
I would support that statement.
Okay. So, given that you're the chair of or you're on the Public Safety Committee, I accept that. So we're going to go ahead and close the meeting. But we have now finished the blue arrow. So next meeting will be March 10th. Is that correct? And we'll do public safety, transportation. Well, I was gone. Did you all adopt or reject my suggested edit on water resources? Doesn't matter. We'll come back to it later. Melissa, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. And Brian, sorry, we do need to finish your edits to water resources to that.
Okay.
Yes.
That's just one, and we
We
can
need to
pick it up.
finish reviewing that. Mhm.
Do you want to just do it right now? Or
Well, it's up to the committee. It's 7:52, so
Nope.
I just,
I tell you what, let's go ahead and close, and then we'll pick it up somewhere along the way. If we could go back to the calendar, I think we're scheduled for our next meeting on March 10th. And then we have scheduled a public open house on March 31st. That's the current schedule. Melissa, did you want to share anything about open house planning?
well, with reviewing goals and policies, we do need to get through reviewing that. I think that there could be, I'm going to contact the school to see if there might be an alternative date in April that we could then use as backup. We would still like to try to schedule open house. We can talk about the format if you wish. Or if we could move on to the final comments for tonight.
Would we, let me toss an idea out. Should we plan on having 2 meetings in March and then potentially the March 31st as the open house? Does the committee went ahead and just say, hey, let's do 2 meetings in March and get finished? Let me do this.
Brian, I would
If
suggest
you
that
want
since our
to
next
have-
meeting will be a full 3-hour meeting, that the public safety and transportation along with water use we should be able to complete that in that 3 hours, hopefully, and the vision statements, but that might be a stretch. So planning now for a mini meeting in March, if worst case scenario, to cover the vision statements that we don't do in our full meeting, would still allow us to meet that 31 March deadline.
Okay. So let's tentatively plan on March 17th as a short meeting, should we not complete everything on March 10th. Okay. Well, let's move on to closing comments.
Brian,
Yes?
17th of St. Patrick's Day.
Well, that's good. You can have some green beer while you're at the meeting.
I don't think so.
And Jim, I don't mean that facetiously. I don't mean to be facetious on that. I should be
No.
more respectful of St. Patty's Day.
There's a lot of people that do go out for that, so that's why I just threw that out there.
And that next meeting on the 10th will start at 5 o'clock for those who are on the meeting for the first time or whatever.
Yes,
They know
we will
that's
start.
5 to 8 p.m.
yes, that'll be from 5 to 8.
Brian, I guess another
Let's
option
go
would
with
be,
March.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I don't really want to suggest this,
Go ahead,
but I guess an option would be on the 10th to go make that a longer meeting if the 17th is not going to be well attended.
Maybe we could take a vote right now as to who would be able to go on the 17th.
Let's do that. That's a good, was that Evelyn?
I have to go get my calendar. I'll be right back.
So while Bernice is out, how many of you, let me do this. If you're a committee member, if you can make a meeting on the 17th, use green. If you cannot make it, use red.
This is Sailor, and I just want you to know that I'm abstaining only because I'm waiting on some things to come in so that I know what's going on that day.
Totally understand, Taylor.
We just have 4 greens right now, Brian.
Okay, I'm trying to get to my calendar.
Now we know who doesn't have a life.
And Brian, it's not the green beer, it's the corned beef and cabbage. It really gives me bad gas, and I don't really want to be sitting around here doing that.
Gosh. I knew there was something else going on, Jim.
The truth
So,
comes out.
yeah, I can't make it.
We're up to 5 greens, which is not a quorum. 1 no. 5 yeses, 2 nos.
I'll vote on a different day besides the 17th.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
Thank you.
Looks like the 17th is not going to work.
okay. 17th does not work. Well, let's plan on doing a longer meeting on the 10th and get done with as much as we can. And then we'll plan from there.
So
How
the
much
10th is
longer?
already 5 until 8. Do you want to run till 9?
No, I don't want to. I want to, what I'm trying to say is, let's see if we can't, how far we get, and then we'll make a plan from the 10th.
Okay,
That's what I meant to
Like
say.
it.
Okay. Let's go to public comment. Let me have members of the community, if you have something to share, please unmute yourself and keep your comments to 3 minutes. And Jessica, will you help time, please?
Yep.
Okay,
Sheila
any
was
comments
first up.
from, pardon?
Sheila was
Everybody,
first
I'm
up there.
Sheila. I
Sheila,
just
go
want to
ahead.
thank you. I want to thank you guys for your hard work. And especially around the state land. And pushing to keep it as open space. I really appreciate that. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Any other public comments? Hearing none, let's go to committee member, final thoughts.
Brian,
Yes, sir.
I have something very brief I'd like to say to everyone here. I owe everyone on the committee and the public an apology for the comments that I put in during the public comment period at the end of the last meeting. It was quite inappropriate, it was uncalled for, and really violated the rules. Being a committee member, I should not have interrupted when we had members of the public stating their opinions and asking questions. There are other venues for which those questions could be answered, and that wasn't my place to be doing that. So I hope you all understand that.
Thank you, John, and I appreciate your honesty. Bernice, I see your hand up. Any other?
Bernice, you're muted if you were talking.
Thank you. I just want to go back and look over some things. I'm concerned that when we went over the billboards, the commercial billboards that are allowed in the planning area, that I don't think that that is quite in line with what our community wants to have billboards. It does talk about billboards on your own property, which could be a commercial property. I think probably most of them would be on Highway 89, or, well, probably it could be Loop Road too. It could be Townsend Winona Road. I don't like the idea of having commercial billboards in the area. I'm also concerned that the residential collective housing needs to be limited in size, as well as we're allowing a medical clinic to come in. How big is that medical clinic going to be? Is it going to be a hospital? I'm very concerned about the water infrastructure not being able to handle a lot of build out. And I'm concerned about the contamination of the existing wells. And like I said, the one in Mountain View Ranchos that had to be shut down because of nitrates, and more density is going to be more pollution to our water system. I would like to go over the billboards and the residential collective housing again to limit its size.
Okay.
And for those that don't know what that is, it's multi-unit housing.
So Melissa has posted that billboards are not allowed via the county. So at any rate, I think that would be something that perhaps we wait and hear what the public has to say at the open house. Any other committee members?
There is one other public member that has their hand up right now, Brian.
Oh, thank you. Andrea Garrett.
I'm sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand. I wanted to thank you for your work, and I appreciate hearing you respond to the community comments that were at the open house. So, and I appreciate being able to hear the comments at the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Any other committee member comments?
Brian, I'd just like to share that while I admire Bernice's dedication to this process, we cannot keep going back and going over things over and over again. And I would suggest any other committee comments to review anything further that we've already completed. be held till after the next open house.
Thank you, Rob. And I'd like to also share that, you know, the committee, you've done an incredible job. It's been an honor to work with you all. I'm not resigning, but I do want to express my respect for what you've done. There have been challenges, and I do ask that you continue to work and think about how do we best serve our community. And with that, hearing no other committee comments, I think it's time for us to bid each other adieu.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you to all the people from Doney Park, Timberline, and Fernwood who've joined us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Everyone have a good,
Good night.
thanks all. Have a good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
We out? I'm not muted.